Alright, so we're doing an Intellitronix digital dash install on my 84 G-Body Monte Carlo. Speedometer doesn't work, temp obviously doesn't work, oil pressure gauge doesn't work, bolts don't work, and this RPM gauge is a little finicky. So we're just gonna go ahead and install the digital. Alright, so this is the Intellitronix digital dash install for the my 84 Monte Carlo. I want to show you a little bit just how I wired it. On the back of the cluster gauges and whatnot, it actually has labels for which wires are on the back of it, so it simplifies things up until midway about here, and you'll have to add wiring either to, well, of course it's going to be to your car wiring, but I went ahead and I simplified things, and I got these male and female connectors off of Amazon, and I just spliced them and connected them to the wires, and I labeled them down here, so when I go out in the car tomorrow, these will be the ends that go to the car and whatever I'm going to run to the transmission for the speedometer and the water temperature sense. And so yeah, I mean, this is basically what it is. I mean, everything basically has its own ground and power. Like, here's oil pressure. That's my turn signals. Here's fuel. Fuel's got its own power. These three here for the speedometer. Yeah, speedometer. Here's your main power and ground here. Here's your ground and your main power for your water temp. And here's your tach meter. And then I went ahead and I did dimmer on its own. And I just cut whatever wires I wasn't using on the connector so it wouldn't get too messy. So yeah, that's basically it, and then we're gonna wire it tomorrow. and whatnot. So yeah. Alright, so how I did things with the wiring. I haven't got this odometer and speedometer calibration. I'm not really sure how those work or get wired in, but as far as the main wiring, I went ahead and used Deutsch connectors to simplify the wiring. I already got one out there wired in the car, and I'm going to show you how I did that just for a visual. I cut off the wires that I didn't need or that I wasn't using on the other connection. So, and then I went ahead and I numbered these, and then I also labeled the ends of them so that way I know exactly what they go to. On the back of the dash, where the wires go into the board, they actually have names of what wires are what, as far as, you know, the orange is the power for oil pressure. This black with the orange stripe is the ground for it. Okay. Or this here, this is your fuel power, and this is your fuel ground. These are your turn signals, the ground wire, your water, and your water ground here with the gray blue stripe. Your tack is green, your purple is dimmer. These three wires here are for your speedometer. So yeah, this red wire here is your power. So yeah, I got these already wired in the car, and I'll show you what that looks like. Alright, so I got everything pulled, well, from that first connector, from the firewall to the engine block, and that was tack wire. So the tack wire is attached to the tack wire here on the distributor. Of course, I'm going to pull this back through the firewall to relieve all this slack. Then you also have the water pump, not the water pump, but the water temperature gauge. And I'm going to plug that in there, where that plug is, on the side of the engine head, because you got this here that's going to go inside. Alright, so that's that so far. Alright, so I got connector number 2 in here. You got here your fuel and fuel ground, your left and the right turn signals, and the oil pressure power, oil pressure ground. Now these are going to run to the engine block, to the new oil pressure sensor that you're going to install on the block. The turn signals and the power for the fuel, I just I cut the wires from the connector and ran the wires from the dish all the way to those, and you know, did my thing there with them. So yeah, 2 down, 2 to go. So the next thing we're going to install here is the speedometer. This goes onto the tail shaft housing of your TH350. That's what I got, at least. So if you got a TH350, this goes on your tail shaft housing. These 3 wires run, but they're going to need to be extended. These 3 wires run to the 3 tachometer wires that you have here on the dash. So you're gonna need about, you know, a good length of wire to run between this and these. Okay, so for the speedometer cable, I twisted up the wires like the manual advised, and taped things up with about 80 inches of red and white and black 18 gauge wire. My speedometer was about 71 inches. Alright, so like I said, that piece goes to the tail shaft housing of your speedometer for your transmission there. And I routed it all the way to the dash. And I'm about to show you that next. Alright, so here's the speedometer cable. Connector number 3. Last connector we got is for the dimmer wire. And I think for the Monte Carlo, that's the black wire here, if I'm not mistaken. Now, as far as ground wires, I have 3 ground wires from everything that I've plugged, and I'm gonna put them here with this ground wire. Alright, so I just have connector 1 plugged in for the time being. This is what I get right now. Okay, so I wired it up just to 1 wire on the turn signals, and they work.
Well, that's what we're looking at right now is only.
Alright, so for the calibration wires and buttons, I just drilled holes at the bottom of the cluster housing, and these work great to calibrate your speedometer and your RPMs and your odometer here. But that was a simple solution. Alright, so we got the water temperature gauge adapter put into the motor here between spark plug number 1 and spark plug number 3. The adapter that comes with the kit is a 1/2 inch, I believe, but it's too big to fit in this hole here, so I had to go to AutoZone and grab their adapter kit for about $10.99, and yeah, that fit. Alright, so that's in there. There you guys have it. Oil pressure sensor is installed. Alright, so here I have it running.